Hello dear students, welcome back to your biology classes. In today's session, we will be continuing about the female reproductive system. So as you all know, what is reproduction? The term reproduction can be defined as a process I can tell like it's a biological process where the new individuals are produced or the new offsprings are produced and they are identical to their parents, and that is a concept of reproduction is. So why reproduction takes place? So reproduction process is very mandatory and it is essential to increase the number of individuals which is on earth, especially the increase of number in pertaining to the species where the species conditions are favorable. And this is one of the important and the fundamental aspects or the characteristics feature of any living organism. If you take right from the microscopic to the macroscopic, from the higher organisms, from the lower organisms and the higher organisms, and so on. And this process is very essential as it makes the life processes in every human being. So let's get into the topic for today's session, and today we are going to see about the female reproductive system. What is the female reproductive system and what is the function of the system and what are the associated parts and the hormones which plays a very vital role in the process of reproduction. So the female reproductive system, as you can see in the figure there, it is very active, and during, before and after the process of fertilization, and it consists of the important parts. Of course, it consists of a pair of ovaries. So what are these pair of ovaries are? These pair of ovaries mainly helps to store the egg, especially the ovum. Biologically, we say it is ovum. It is the main place where the eggs are stored or the ovum is stored, and of course they also produce some hormones, some important hormone. Do you know what is that hormone is? The important female hormone will be the estrogen, because estrogen is the only female hormone which helps in the process of the puberty, especially in the process of menstruation. And when you take the progesterone, it's another hormone, the female hormone. It plays a very vital role during the process of conception, that is during the process of pregnancy and after pregnancy. So here the main important hormone is produced in the ovaries, and that hormone is called as the estrogen. So the next associated part will be the fallopian tubes. Now this fallopian tubes is otherwise called as the oviducts, and of course they are the site, the best place or the best site for the process of fertilization. They are the best process for the process of fertilization. And what do they do? Since they are the tubules, they connect the ovaries. The main process is that they connect the ovaries with the uterus. That is the main process. And of course, the next associated organ will be the uterus. What is this uterus is? The main function of the uterus is it is the place where the embryo is developed, or it is the place where the formation of the fetus takes place. So uterus forms a site of development for the growth of the embryo or for the development of the embryo. The female reproductive system has a very important function. What are the two important functions of the female reproductive system? Of course, the first important is that the production of the female gametes. So what is the male gamete? Last class we saw the sperm, right? In female, the production of the female gamete is called as the egg. The egg is otherwise called as what? It is otherwise called as the ovum. So the main function is that it helps to give nourishment, or it helps to support. It helps to protect, support and nourish the developing embryo. That is the main function. And of course, during the process of puberty, so what is puberty is? Puberty is the first phase for the sexual development, right? So this puberty, during the process of puberty, the egg, especially, which is located where did I tell? I told it is in the ovaries. So especially the eggs in the ovary, they start to grow, or in other ways I can say they start to mature. So one of the ovaries, or maybe one of the ovaries, what do? They release the full grown ovum, or the matured ovum, in 28 to 30 days, and that process is called as ovulation. Maybe in the further classes, today's session, we will be seeing about what is ovulation, what is menstrual cycle. But before that, this you have to know what is the term used in the reproductive system. That is the ovulation. Especially one of the ovaries, what did I told? It releases a fully grown egg, or the fully grown ovum, in every 28 days. That is, it depends upon the days. It depends upon the metabolism of the body, of a person's body. So from 28, maybe I can tell you, to 30. So, and that is called as the ovulation. So the female ovary, especially the ovaries in the female reproductive system, it contains, we already know, an egg, and that egg is called as what? That egg is called as a ovum. So what happens? So we saw about what is that ovary, and where is the egg is present, and what is the main function, and what is the uterus, and what is the main part, or the main aspect of that. But this egg, the stored egg, that is, I told you, the ovary in female reproductive system is the organ where it contains an egg. I told you just now, right? And that egg, in biologically, I can tell you that it is called as an ovum. So what does this ovum does, or what does this egg does? This ovum will start to travel down. Where does it goes? It starts to travel right from the fallopian tubes. It starts to travel from the fallopian tube into the uterus. After the release of the egg. So after the release of the egg, and what happens later is that after this process, it is the place, or it is the phase where the egg started to is ready to receive the sperm for fertilization. That is the main phase. So this is the place where the egg is ready. Now it is fertilized and is waiting for the sperm to get itself fertilized. So of course, when you take the other side of the of our body, there is a ovary. There is the ovary. So you have the two ovaries, just like a fan, just like a fan-like appearance. So here I should quote important term called hormones. Hormones play a very vital role in this process. That is, they play a very good role, or a very vital role, in the process of menstrual cycle, and not only in menstrual cycle but also in fertilizing the egg, especially in the fertility. That is, the fertility by the secretion of the ovaries. So the prenatal, that is before the birth, they say it's called as a prenatal. So that is before the prenatal. It's right from the beginning. That is before a baby could born. That is from the prenatal phase, and finally it ends into a phase called a monopause. What is mono is? Mono is one, pause is to stop. So once for all, this process is stopped. Maybe in every female at the age of 45 to 50, this menopause begins. So meno means one and pause is to put a full stop. So there ends this process. So this menopause is normally seen at the age of 45 to 50 in every lifestyle of a woman. So the ovary, when you talk about the ovary, of course, this ovary goes through a number of stages. This ovary goes through a number of stages. That's right from the prenatal, from the postnatal, after the birth of the child, and not only that, after that the cycle starts, the menstrual cycle starts, keeping on going, and of course in one point in time, especially the women who has the age, that is who range from the age of 45 to 50, they experience the first, the last phase, especially the menopause, where this menstrual cycle is paused or just stopped once and for all. So this hormones, what happens, the hormones, they plays a very good role, especially in metabolizing, and it is later classified as what, as a endocrine class, because I already told you in previous class also, when we were studying about the neural coordination and all that, how the hormones play a very vital role, isn't it? Especially in passing the signals right from the brain to the spinal cord and to the entire nerves of the body and entire parts of the body. Likewise here also, the special in the phase of reproductive stage, the estrogen and progesterone hormones, the sex hormones, they play a very vital role, and hence this endocrine gland plays a predominant role in fertilization and also in the menstrual cycle for every woman. So next we shall pass on to the next important topic in this chapter, that is the embryonic development. So now you all know how the ovary and how the uterus plays a very important role in female and how the hormones also coordinate with the organ for the reproduction. So once after the egg is fertilized, what happens? So once the egg fully developed ovum, once it is fertilized, what happens exactly in the face of a woman? What happens? What takes place? So once the egg is fertilized with a mature sperm, a zygote is formed. What is a zygote is? The developing embryo. The zygote is formed. Of course, this zygote is developed, as you can see in the figure. It undergoes so many cell stages, cell division, especially the meiosis takes place, I told you, that is one cell, two cell divided into four daughter cell, okay, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 16, so it goes on like that, 12, 16, and it goes on like that. So here the zygote divides, it divides mitotically to form 2, and from the 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, and these cell stages keeps on going. It undergoes a process of meiosis, that is it develops from the mitosis, that is 2 cell stages, and further into 4. These cells are, the complete set of cells are called as the blastomas. It is called as the blastomas. The next term you can see as in the figure there, the first fertilized egg, you can see in the picture there, the egg is fertilized, okay, and it has already received the sperm, the matured sperm there, and soon after it receives, and when the uterus confirms that the embryo is fixed or it is implanted in the uterus, of course it undergoes all these cell stages. The first 2 cells it divides, and 2 into 4, 4 to 8, 16, and it goes on. And of course, the next stage will be the morula, that is the 8th to 16th. From the 8th cell stage to the 16th cell, it is called as the morula. The morula, what happens? It again it divides and gets and gets transformed, or gets transformed to the blastocyst. It gets transformed into the blastocyst. Now, what is this blastocyst? The blastocyst is nothing but it is the outermost layer of the blastocyst. It has a specific name called the tropoblast, the outermost layer of the this cell stage or this cell division. This cell division, it is called as the tropoblast. And once after this stage, what happens? It gets itself attached to the walls, especially the uterine walls. It gets itself attached to the uterine walls, and that is called as, that specific term is called as the endometrium. That specific term is called as the endometrium. Now, after this, what happens? Of course, we know now, after the babies, the fetus has started to develop. It starts to develop now after this stage, and the implantation or the implantation specially or correctly starts right from the first week. It starts from the first week of the conception, and it gets completed. How it gets completed? It gets completed by the second week. Now, you have to talk about the inner cells, especially the inner cells of blastomeres forms the embryo. That is the most important. We saw the outermost was called as the tropoblast, I said, but the innermost layer, the innermost cells of the blastocyst, what does it forms? It forms the embryo there. And after this embryocyst, again it gets itself differentiated. How does it get differentiated? It is this blastocyst which gets differentiated further to embryonic and extra embryonic tissues. Now, this embryonic and extra embryonic tissues, it helps the fetus or helps the developing fetus for protection and support. It prevents from all the other factors. So, we are going to see one by one. So, the implantation completes, what did I tell you? It completes in the second week. Of course, the tropoblast and the uterine cells, especially the tropoblast and the uterine cells from the placenta, what happens now? It forms a connection, just like a network, just like how a network is connected to the laptops and Android mobiles. Why? We can easily access anything. So, same way here also, the placenta now it is connected from where? It forms a connection between the mother and the growing child or the growing fetus. In terms of biology, we say it is a fetus. So, this placenta acts as a connector, or it is a network passing the information, any type of an information between the mother and the developing fetus. So, that is the main function of it. And the next important function of the placenta is that this placenta provides the nourishment. It not only provides the nourishment, it also gives oxygen. In oxygen, especially why oxygen is needed? Of course, the child has to live, the fetus has to live, right? And the exchange of gases can take place, that is right from CO2, and it helps in absorbing the oxygen. So, here it helps the embryo, especially in removing the carbon dioxide which is produced in the tissues, and it also acts as a gland, an endocrine gland, thereby secreting an important hormone. Now, you have to understand this. It will produce, that is, once the fetus is started to develop, an important hormone will be produced. That itself you can identify that this fertilization is taking place. That is called as the HCG. I repeat, HCG. What is this HCG? It is nothing but human chorionic gonadotrophin hormone. Leave about the estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone plays in menstruation and in the reproduction phase. But once the child is formed, once the fetus is formed inside, then a new hormone is produced that is called as a HCG. And what is that HCG? HCG is human chorionic gonadotrophin hormone. So along with that, along with this HCG, of course, the estrogen, the progesterones, etc., it helps, it will aid or it will play an important way to maintain the conception, especially it will help to maintain the pregnancy, the complete pregnancy. So now we are going to the third phase or the third part or the third week, especially here, gastrulation takes place. What takes place here? The gastrulation takes place in the third week, especially the inner cells. What does the inner cells do? The inner cells or the embryo, what does it starts? Now it starts to get itself differentiated into three important layers. Into three important layers. The first one will be the ectoderm. The second one will be the mesoderm, and the third one will be the endoderm. So as the term ecto means outside. So it is made up of the outermost cells. Of course, the meso means middle, as the word meso, so the term middle, it helps with the formation of the middle layers, and of course the ectoderm will be the endoderm will be the innermost layers. Now these cells transform and get differentiated into other organs like the nerve, blood, the bones, then the alimentary canal, the muscles, etc. So this is the main feature. Now what is this ectoderm? I was just telling you all these three different features, right? What is this ectoderm is? Again, the nervous system, you know, the nervous system comprises of what? The spinal cord. So the spinal cord, the brain, the epidermis, this underneath the skin, the epidermis, the nails, etc. are essential, etc. are seen as the endoderms. What is this mesoderm? I told you the mesoderm will be the connective tissues. It will come in a line to the connective tissues, the muscular, the muscles especially, all the types of muscles, then the circulatory system, then you have the bones, the kidneys, and of course the reproductive system, the gonads. All this comprises of the mesoderm. And of course the next part will be the endoderm, which is the innermost layer or the innermost organs. When you talk about the internal organs, it is the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, then you have the lungs, etc. All this are seen in the endoderm. Now let me sum up all